All right, let's take a look at these markets showing, well, the Dow's just drifted slightly negative, or we'll call it flat. The S&P slightly higher, same thing with the NASDAQ. Keith Fitz-Gerald joins us this morning. Great to see you, Keith. The S&P has had 8 straight weeks of gains. Hasn't done that in like 6 years, I think. What's your prediction for the markets next year? That's the question everyone's asking this week.
It is. Funny enough, that's what we're being asked too. I think we're going to have a little bit of a hiccup in Q1. But here's the thing, Ashley. We have to have that in order to move higher. I see the markets moving into 5,000, 5,100, maybe even 5,200 this time next year.
So what about the Fed? Because a lot of this hope in the markets is that the Fed's going to start cutting rates next year. Are you in that camp?
Well, I tell you what, I have well, let's put it this way, a controversial opinion about the Fed. I think the market is ahead of itself. I think Jay Powell is trapped in a corner, and he cannot begin cutting rates, at least through Q1. I see the majority of the gains that I'm expecting second half once the Fed gets taken to the woodshed.
Well, it's interesting. Jeff Seeker was on the show earlier, and he was very concerned about next year. He thought we could be in for a hard landing. Are you in that camp?
No, you know, and I love Jeff. He is as smart as they come. Huge respect to him, but I disagree with him on this one. I think that the needle is going to get threaded, and here's why. Not because of the Fed, Ashley. They're taking blood out of the left arm, putting it in the right arm. I see great companies continuing to move forward. They're the ones that are putting up the good numbers, irrespective of what the Fed does.
So you think the tech sector, again, will be a big area to concentrate on next year? The AI stocks, the NVIDIAs?
I do. I think big tech is going to continue to lead the way, and people are making a critical mistake. They are assuming all tech is the same. That's not the case. Big tech is where you want to be, and you also want to be in those sectors that big tech is going to benefit, specifically AI. So medical, for example, AI-driven medical oncology-related treatments, I think, are going to come into their own next year.
And very quickly, 10 seconds, the state of the consumer, which is so important to the economy.
Strapped, concerned, but also beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel is not a train.
Fantastically concise as always, Mr. Fitz-Gerald. Don't go away. We're going to talk about some individual stocks, but we are now up and running on this holiday shortened week, the final week of trading in 2023. They're pushing the buttons, they're clapping, they're waving, the confetti, or at least digital confetti, I think these days, is flying. Let's take a look at the Dow the Dow 30 stocks, as you can see, about a mix. The Dow off slightly, down 10 points right out of the gate there. Let's take a look at the S&P if we can. The S&P up about 0.1% at 47.58, and the Dow just turned positive as well. Very slightly so. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Up 0.25%, up 34 points, above 15,000. Not bad for the NASDAQ. And we always like to look at those big tech names, talking of the NASDAQ, see what they're doing on this Tuesday. As you can see, they're all in the green, modestly so, although Alphabet and Meta, they're both up about 0.5%. Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon also up about 0.1%. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. And I'll tell you why we're looking at it. It raised $50 million for nonprofits helping those affected in the Israeli war. Today, it's up another 0.5%. Keith, NVIDIA has had an enormous year. It's up over 230%. Are you a holder, and what do you think of it at this price?
Not only am I a holder, Ashley, but I hope I'm smart enough to buy more shares. I think this stock is just getting started. 80+% your market share in the servers that it works with. I think it's plenty of room to play with companies like AMD and Intel. But again, leadership position, strong company, strong management, great execution. I think it goes a lot higher, potentially a split within the next 12 to 24 months.
Wow, that's quite an endorsement. Let's move on to Intel. Some news here as well. Just scored a $3.2 billion grant from the government. It's for a new $25 billion chip plant that it plans to build in Israel. Keith, Intel also has had a stellar run this year. Do you see that momentum continuing in 2024?
I sure hope so, because Pat Gelsinger is not only super smart, I think he's the right guy at the right time. Unfortunately, you know, I got ahead of myself with Intel, so I shifted into AMD, and I've been happy with that. But looking at Intel coming roaring off the bottom here, it's making me rethink that proposition. Again, Pat Gelsinger knows what he's doing. He's the right guy at the right time. I think it bodes well for the company.
Very good. Intel up 2.5% today. Let's move on to Tesla. It's unveiled its latest humanoid robot. It's called Optimus Gen 2. Reportedly is 30% faster, 10 kilograms lighter, and has sensors on all the fingers. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Do you own Tesla, Keith?
I do own Tesla, and that's another core holding for me. I think, it's so much more than a car company, actually. Anybody thinking in terms of vehicles lost the plot a long time ago. This is about AI. This is about information. This is about electric generation. To me, this is one of those great companies led by a visionary. Love them or hate them, that's how visionaries roll.
Yeah. That's very true. Tesla up 1% at 255. Talking of electric vehicles, NIO, that's one of China's electric vehicle makers, just unveiled its flagship EV. Are you invested in the EV race? I know you like Tesla, but as you say, that's so much more. Anywhere else in this sector?
Well, funny enough, I do own NIO, and I have for quite some time. The thing about NIO that's really interesting is that it's not even messing with the U.S. markets. It's looking at Europe, and it's following Toyota's playbook from the late 60s, early 70s. And if people remember their history, that's when everybody thought Toyota was just cheap tin with wheels. Now it's a world-class car company. I think NIO is on the same trajectory.
I forgot about that, that perception of Toyota. You're absolutely right. Look how far they've come. All right, let's move on to the drug sector, Keith. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk both getting huge boosts from their weight loss drugs. Do you buy into any of this weight loss boom at all?
That's an interesting one to me. I've been a self-ascribed health nut for many, many years, triathlete, all the good stuff. But I don't think the weight loss is where it's going to be. I think the real money with both of those companies is going to be oncology, particularly as it's driven by AI. We're not hearing a lot about that, which makes me interested in both of those names. I don't own either of them at the moment.
Interesting. They certainly have had a heck of a year. How about this one, Keith? You'll soon be able to add a car to your Amazon cart. I don't know. I'm old-fashioned. I like to go to the dealership or wherever and kick the tires. But is this the future of car buying?
I don't think so. I think that this is an interesting aha moment for the company. But like you, there's certain things about a car that are tactile, and you're never going to get around that. Now, if we suddenly go to boxes with wheels and they become commoditized, that's different. But that's not where we are as a society right now. So I think this is an interesting exercise, but that's probably about it for now.
I couldn't agree more. All right, let's move on. I want to get into some of your picks, Keith. Your first one here is one that Stuart Varney will rave about all day and night long. Costco. Why do you like Costco?
Well, Costco, again, if we buy in on the things that you and I have just talked about, a strapped consumer, people need cash to go farther. This company is membership driven. It's driving people into the stores. It's only a matter of time before we have a hike in revenue. They've sidestepped most of the inflation. To me, it's a cash printing machine. I love it. I own it. I've had for a long period of time. I think it's going to do very, very well.
Wow. All right. Well, here's a familiar name to us all, Apple. What can Apple do that they haven't already done?
I've never thought about it in precisely those terms, Ashley. But, what can they do that they haven't already done? I think we need to think back to where Steve Jobs was. What did he whip out of the envelope for the first time? It was the iPhone. The thing that makes Apple so special is that they take needs that consumers don't even know they have. They change the world with those things. I think they're going to move into medical technology. I think they're going to move into AI. They already are behind the scenes. The wearables and consumables, that's where the needle movers are going to be. It's not the iPhone anymore.
No, I couldn't agree more. And, of course, another great name and another Varney favorite, Microsoft.
This is a big one, and this is a company that's not about software anymore. This is a company that's best positioned in the AI space. For every $50 in AI spend, you've got another 75, maybe 100 following on in all the derivative industries. So to me, this is about bringing people together. It's about the introduction of AI across their platform, which is one of the most widely used in the world today. I think that stock, too, is a key holding of mine for the same reasons. Going to be doing with that one for a long time.
Indeed, we are. Keith, thank you so much. Great job today. Thank you for playing along with us and bringing us some very worthwhile and insight into the markets. Do appreciate it, as always. Coming up,
Thank you.
Priest.
Hi, it's Keith here. Thanks for checking out today's highlight clip. What'd you think? Did I make sense? Is there something you'd like to add? Make sure you leave a comment down below, and of course, click subscribe to keep up right here on YouTube, or sign up for the email newsletter at the link below. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram for my real-time thoughts on markets, analysis, and a whole lot more.